Good morning. It's great to be here. I'm actually standing in place of our CEO, Brad Paddock, who had to go to London this week, but it's fun to play Brad for a day. But it's really an opportunity, great opportunity for us at CeQur to again share what we're doing with our very simple, innovative product. Our mission is to simplify the lives of people with diabetes. Diabetes is a big condition that all of you know, and we're doing it in a very elegant way where we're really changing the way people get insulin into them. And so I'll spend some time today talking not only about the problem that we are solving. We are an early stage commercial company, so we have started our commercial journey, but also give you a sense as to where we are and where we think this company can go. But we've got a very significant leadership team, as I mentioned, led by Brad Paddock as well as Rich Mott, a range of expertise both in the Medtech, pharma, and direct-to-consumer space. And this team has evolved over the last couple of years, and we're now at a place where the foundational building blocks of the organization are there, and it's about scaling the organization to the next level. So CeQur is a Swiss-based company, but our headquarters are here in the U.S. All activities today are U.S.-based. We're based out of Greenville, South Carolina, high-speed manufacturing in Columbia, South Carolina, with redundancy in Tijuana, Mexico. The company has a 3-day wearable, bolus-only insulin delivery supply. It is filled with rapid-acting insulin. It is applied to the body, and people can dose insulin whenever they need to by squeezing 2 buttons on the side, and each squeeze delivers 2 units of insulin. And I'll get into who it's intended to serve in a minute. But the product was originally acquired by CeQur from Johnson & Johnson, who had acquired it from Calibra Medical back when J&J was in the diabetes business. When they exited, CeQur acquired the asset and has been building it to commercialization since that time. We did close $115 million series financing in 21. More recently, a $50 million convertible note. We've been using those funds to stand up the high-speed manufacturing, build the commercial team, and I'll show you some of the progress on that. We did pilot launch the product in the U.S. right during COVID, which was interesting, with 5 salespeople. That team is now built, and we plan to expand that even further this year in 24 and beyond. We had revenue last year of about $6 million, predicting 14 to 15 this year and 40 the year after that. So we're in a very fast ramp phase of our organization. So the problem that we aim to solve for isn't overly complicated. Insulin has been around for over 100 years. It is far and away the best glucose-lowering agent that exists. The problem is getting it into people that need it. So for people that have type 1 diabetes, their motivation to dose is fairly significant because they need it to live. For the type 2 population, and there are a lot of type 2 patients who have transitioned through the care continuum to needing mealtime insulin, that patient population is more challenging. They generally are prescribed insulin pens or vials, and getting them to take the doses that they're supposed to when they eat is challenging, and the data is very clear that a large percentage of them don't. 2/3 to 75% of people with type 2 diabetes that need insulin never get to the ADA standard of 7% A1C or lower. Very high percent. And it's not because the insulin won't work, it's just not getting it into them. And there's all kinds of data and statistics about why, but they just don't. Many people just don't take it out of the home. And all these reasons why they don't take it raises A1C and leads to the overall complications of diabetes. The fact of the matter is that dosing insulin every day when you eat is incredibly challenging. Think about all of you. You've been here at this meeting, you've had breakfast, you'll probably have snacks, you'll go to the bar and maybe have a drink. Every time you consume carbohydrates, you're supposed to dose. The reality is for people with type 2 who hypoglycemia isn't an issue, they just don't. And so the adherence is the challenge. They have to inject over 1,000 times a year. An application of a very elegant, simple wearable is really a solution to the problem. And so we have brought this product to market. The physician and patient enthusiasm around the product has been very, very good. It's just a very simple, elegant wearable that people have under their clothing. You apply it, it can be dosed through your clothing. I could be wearing one right now and dose 10 units of insulin and nobody would know. So it's very comfortable to wear, it's waterproof, 2 clicks. A click delivers 2 units every time. So if you need 6 units of insulin, you'd squeeze it 3 times. It's been studied, and I'll show you some of the data on the studies. People will use it. Their adherence is higher. Their overall glucose control is better. There are a range of safety features that are built into it. When it's empty, the buttons lock. And so there's no batteries, no electronics. It's a simple manual insulin delivery supply. So when the product was brought to the FDA for clearance, the FDA recognized that it's different than what existed today. It's not a pen. It's not a continuous subcutaneous insulin infusion pump. And so they gave it actually its own unique characterization or its own category. It's a wearable on-body insulin delivery supply. And so it's really been helpful to have this differentiation because we don't intend to compete with insulin pumps. Insulin pumps are wonderful tools. For people that want that sort of technology, they're welcome to them. Many type 1s do. A lot of type 2s do not. Only about 5%, 5 to 7% of all of the insulin-taking type 2 patients want an insulin pump. There's just a lot of technology. And so it fits a very specific patient population, and the data has clearly shown that people like the product, and I'll show you some of that result in a minute. It's been robustly studied. One of the benefits of having the product been acquired by J&J a number of years ago is they put a lot of effort into developing some of the early commercial work, some of that being clinical trials. So there's a very good, large, randomized controlled clinical trial that was completed that showed you put people on the patch versus the pen, and you get very meaningful A1C reductions. And again, this isn't complicated. It's just getting insulin into them. And so in the RCT, there was a very meaningful 1.7% A1C drop for patients that used the patch. That was borne out in 24 weeks, which was the study endpoint, but also the study carried out to 44 weeks for durability, and it showed that they continued to maintain that reduced A1C. 63% of the patients actually got to the ADA goal. You may recall when I started that I mentioned 2/3 to 75% of people with type 2 diabetes using insulin never get to goal. So again, this is just it's a way for people to get to that ADA goal that they've never been able to get to before. Additionally, in this study, there was a subset of patients that were using blinded continuous glucose monitoring. And at baseline, their time in range, which has become a very, very good marker on how well people are doing. Again, the ideal range is in that gray bar is where you want people to be. It was less than 50% at baseline. At week 24, it improved 50% to 74.1%, which lines up with the current consensus that defines a clinical target for time in range. There's also been recently some real-world evidence data that's been done, and that real-world evidence mirrors the RCT data that people using the product have very meaningful reductions in A1C. They get that reduction not just because of using the patch. It's not about using CGM. So on the right-hand side of this graph, it's also patients that had CGM or didn't, and there's meaningful reductions regardless of whether they use continuous glucose monitoring or not. I mentioned a little bit about patients. The preference, there's been surveys completed that have asked patients, which do you prefer, your previous therapy or your CeQur Simplicity? Overwhelmingly, and these numbers are very, very high for Medtech products, patients significantly prefer this wearable approach to an insulin pen. Not only do the patients actually have high preference for it, but clinicians do as well. And it's very important to consider most of these patients that really are our addressable market, the type 2 MDI patients, are treated by primary care physicians. These are not healthcare providers that prescribe insulin pumps for a variety of reasons. So the patient base that can be served by this is really being treated by a group of physicians that had high satisfaction and found the product very simple to train and teach. So it's a very large market. I know most of you are probably very familiar with the size of the diabetes space. Our commercial strategy is up and running. We've expanded to 40 plus salespeople. That's predicted to double this year. The reimbursement plan is entirely 100% pharmacy benefit. There's been very good pharmacy benefit manager uptake in plans. 70% of the plans have put this on a formulary, and with average copays being very low at less than $50. And We have other marketing activities around HCP awareness and digital outreach and social media that's bringing awareness to the product. So we have a high-speed automated manufacturing line in Greenville, South Carolina, capable on this particular line of producing up to $300 million worth of product per year, with the ability to add components to it to make it an even larger capacity. And we have a unique opportunity. We are working and playing in a space that has huge upside, more people coming in and having diabetes and transitioning to needing insulin. A very small percentage of the people that we're focused on are wanting or using an insulin pump. We have the CapEx investment in the South Carolina line that gives us the ability to get to a 65% gross margin, and we're starting to see these commercial metrics really model for a very large scale. So I'm happy to speak with any of you afterwards, take any questions, and thank you for your time.